Hello, BookTube. I've got a Tuesday MegaStuff video for you, a few bits and pieces, odds and ends here and there. They don't really make a video on their own, and we'll start with babies, of course. I guess this is going to be a permanent feature, and I couldn't be happier about it. I'm surprised it took me so long to think about it. I originally made it as just a temporary call for pictures of your books, of your Shakespeare, for ShakeTube. And I mentioned that you could feel free to include your dogs as well. Plenty of people have done that. And today is a rare example of the babies section of the MegaStuff video where all the babies are, in fact, dogs. There are no cats or rats or anything else. For instance, this dog, look at that. That is called hogging a lap. And that is one of the benefits, one of the many benefits of an e-reader, is that you have a hand free to pet the needy one right there. And there's this poor little thing. So many dog pictures that I'm getting in my inbox that are of babies who are a little bit on the injured side, a little bit scuffed up. My heart goes out to them. And then, of course, there's a star. One of the emerging stars of this little section is Dottie, who seems never to be able to take a bad picture. I swear, whether it's in color and black and white, whether it's posed or not. And then our last, oh, look at this one. Oh, sweetie pie. Oh, I wonder what thoughts are going through that head. But we have to end up today with the most impressive baby that we've had so far, on this channel. Bubba, who's 245 pounds when he was at his fighting prime. Although I gather from the owner that he wasn't much in the way of fighting. He was sort of a lordly, above it all. As you will find in large dogs, they tend to be like that. I had 2 Irish Wolfhounds that were the same way. It was almost impossible to get a rise out of them. Whereas I happen to know for a fact that if you have a very small dog, let's say 10 pounds, everything gets a rise out of them. Every single thing does. But look at Bubba. Look at that. That is just amazing. It's incredible to think that Bubba and Frida are the same species, that with a small amount of technological help they could interbreed. That is just amazing to think. That's the baby section. I don't have any updates as far as my mail boy goes. I'm dying to know what he makes of The Killer Angels, the book that he chose to read. I know that the last time I saw him, he was enjoying it. But I'm assuming he's finished it by now, and I don't know. But I will find out, and I will report back. And I don't have any tech updates either, because I'm in love with 7 of 9. I'm in love with my one device to rule them all. There are a tiny handful of things that I can't do on it, and I'm okay with that. I cannot download any more apps than I already have on it, because for whatever reason, I need Comcast to do that, and I cannot get into my Comcast account. I just can't do it. I've tried everything, except talking with a human being, which seems to be off the table. But then I wanted to give you kind of an am reading, or current reading, recent reading. One thing that I am slowly working my way through is the Stormlight Archive. I'm on Oathbringer, which is book 3. This enormous thing that has, as usual, all of the Brandon Sanderson hyper nerdy details. I'm plowing through these. I mentioned Stormalong earlier this year, which is a read-along that's still going on for the Stormlight Archives, for great readers of these books, dedicated readers. And if you want an example of what it is to lovingly read a book really closely, watch one of their live streams, because their educations in and of themselves. But the next book in this series, Rhythm of War, comes out soon, and I want to have the series fresh in my mind when I read it. So I'm plowing my way through these, and I am getting there. I'm just about finished. I was reading this thing all morning. I'm just about finished with it. And I'm trying to keep these paperbacks in good condition, because I don't want to ask the publisher for them again. I've already asked for the publisher for the whole set 3 times, and that has got to be the end of it. I am on the list to get a Rhythm of War. It will be here when it gets here, and that will be it. And some of you who are a little bit more on the orderly side will be bothered by that. You have 3 mass market paperbacks and 1 hardcover. Surely you want all hardcovers or all mass market paperbacks, but I'm going to be good. So I'm going to hold on to this when I'm done with it. And then another thing that I read just recently and loved, absolutely loved, but I was never in any doubt in my mind that I was going to love it, was A Guinea Pig Night Before Christmas. I don't know who thought up the idea for these books, but they deserve a raise. They deserve a raise. Because this is the story of the visit of St. Nick, entirely told with guinea pigs. And the blurb says, these guinea pigs really know how to act. And the sell sheet, the paper copy that came with one of these, has a blurb from Salman Rushdie, who says that, I think it's Pride and Prejudice that he's talking about. He says that it's the best version of Pride and Prejudice that's ever been done, and that he really hopes they can do War and Peace. And I do too. If anybody can do it, these people can. And I once saw the whole plot of War and Peace reduced to one illustrated cartoon page in the New York Times Book Review, so it can be done. But naturally, when I read through this, I went prowling through my shelves for other examples, like Guinea Pig Romeo and Juliet, which has our characters in period dress. And what, for my money, is probably the best of them all, the Guinea Pig Pride and Prejudice. Where we start off a novel in 3 volumes, and we start off with, "Is a truth universally acknowledged that a single man in possession of a good fortune must be in want of a wife." So I read Guinea Pig Night Before Christmas, and it will go on the shelf with all the others now. And then we have some mail. This won't be a long MegaStuff video, but we have a couple of pieces of mail, and that will tide us over for today. I'm going to make a couple of other videos today. I'm going to try to. So let's see what this first one is. It's heavy, so it's probably a finished copy. Let's see. Oh, it is a finished copy. Reaction Books, distributed by the University of Chicago Press. Comes out in early October. Okay, perfect. This is by Jean Nuchterlein, and this is Hans Holbein, The Artist in a Changing World. One of these, we've seen these before on this channel, one of these naked hardcover with the inlaid picture there, biographies. And a couple of these that I've had have been really good in this series. Let's find out about Hans Holbein, shall we? Immensely skillful and inventive, Hans Holbein molded his approach to art making during a period of dramatic transformation in European society and culture. The emergence of humanism. He painted Erasmus. The impact of the Reformation on religious life, and the effects of new scientific discoveries. Most people have encountered Holbein's work. Think of King Henry VIII, and Holbein's memorable portrait springs to mind, forever defining the Tudor king for posterity. But little is widely known about the artist himself. This overview of Holbein looks at his art through the changes in the world around him, offering insights and often surprising new interpretations of visual and historical sources that have rarely been addressed. And the author is a reader in the Department of History of Art at the University of York. Okay, well, you do know Holbein's work. If you don't know his Erasmus portrait, you'll certainly know his Henry VIII portrait. And you might know his role in history. This book, this little hardcover, will probably contain everything, all the artwork of his that we have. Oh, it does. Oh, and it has full color plates as well. Oh, fantastic. I have 2 enormous folio-sized old hardcovers of all of the portraits of Holbein. Just enormous things. I got them. I splurged on them at the Brattle Bookshop here in Boston. I splurged on them for $50. I never do that. But they're enormous volumes. They're full-sized, and they have they're all the portraits. Holbein did a lot of other stuff, but his portraits are the things that I love. And they have a full dress biography of each person that sat. Holbein was a creature at the Tudor court and painted lots of people, not just kings. There's Cromwell. There's a case to be made, a tenuous case, but it's still fun to make, that Holbein was responsible for the death of Cromwell. Because once the wine had been flowing a little bit too freely, and once he had been charmed a little bit too much, he painted a picture of Anne of Cleves that did not resemble her, that resembled an idealized version of her. And Henry VIII fell in love with the portrait. There was no social media. There were no Zoom calls. He fell in love with the portrait. Huh. There's my guy. There's Erasmus. One of them. One of the Holbein portraits of Erasmus. Henry VIII fell in love with the portrait and impulsively proposed marriage. And the marriage was very much pushed by Cromwell. And then Henry met the woman, and she didn't look like her portrait. And Henry was furious. He was immediately cold to the whole idea from an amorous point of view. And then he became cold to the whole idea from a religious and a continental alliance point of view, which is what Cromwell had been pushing. And Cromwell's fall was not long afterwards. But Anne of Cleves was innocent of all of it. She was innocent of anything. And to my mind, stands as a very good example of a refutation that you can make to historians and sometimes historical novelists who get a little glib and say that in his declining years, Henry went insane, that he became a bloodthirsty monster. Even Francis Hackett, the author of a 100-year-old biography of Henry that I really like, even he falls for that. This blood-ravening monster, this Grendel's monster, as Henry got older, and the pain in his leg is exaggerated, and the weight is exaggerated. And when you hear that, I mean, there's a case that as Henry got older, he got meaner in spirit. But there's a refutation for that as well. And when you hear it, the refutation is Anne of Cleves. If you want to think, is this biased? It seems too simple. Mad old king who gets madder and meaner and more bloodthirsty. Anne of Cleves is a perfect example, because Henry could easily have blamed her. The mad, blood-ravening, mindless creature who is so often characterized by historians and novelists would have blamed her for exercising feminine wiles on his innocent court painter. Instead, Holbein wasn't punished, and Anne of Cleves wasn't punished. She outlived Henry. She outlived Cromwell. She was pensioned off into the countryside and lived a fine and happy life. Henry made a deal with her that he didn't need to make, and he kept it. So, but anyway, this is fantastic. I have had two in my life. I've read, I think, 2 full-dress biographies of Holbein, and this will be the third. And I've read many, many studies of the man, many studies of his artwork. I think his artwork's incredible. Great, fantastic. Didn't know that was coming. Good to know I'm still on the University of Chicago's list, with the way things have been in the pandemic age. You don't know whose list you're on anymore, or whether or not you are. Let's see what this next one is. Oh, very good. Oh, boy, we're doing fine here. All right, this next one is fiction. It's fantasy. It's from St. Martin's Press, and it's a series that I have really enjoyed. I don't think I have actually reviewed any of them. But maybe I'll make a change of that with this one, because they're worth it, and they're worth your time. This is A Snake Lies Waiting, which is the 3rd book in the Legends of the Condor House. I believe we've seen both the previous books, by Jin Yong, translated by Anna Holmwood and Gigi Chang. With these lovely, this is the signature spine. They all look like that on the spine, and then they have the gorgeous, understated covers. Let me read you this for those of you who are new, right? Because the last time I got one of these things, the 2nd book in this series, there were 2,000 fewer people subscribed to this channel, so maybe some of you don't know this. It's the 3rd in Jin Yong's high-stakes, tension-filled epic, where kung fu is magic, kingdoms vie for power, and the battle to become the ultimate kung fu master unfolds. And that sounds cheesy, but this author takes it to a level you wouldn't imagine possible. Guo Jing has confronted Apothecary Huang, his sweetheart Lotus Huang's father, on Peach Blossom Island, and bested the villainous Galant Ouyang in the 3 trials to win the hand of his beloved. But now, along with his 2 friends, and Shifus, Zhu Botong of the Kozhen sect and Count 7 Hong, chief of the Beggar clan, he has walked into another trap. Tricked into boarding an unseaworthy barge by Apothecary Huang, the 3 friends will surely drown unless Lotus, who has overheard her father's plans, can find a way to save them. Yet even if they survive the voyage, great dangers lie in wait on the mainland. Viper Ouyang, the gallant's uncle, and one of the 5 greats of the martial world, is determined to have his revenge on Guo Jing for getting the better of his nephew, and bent on becoming the most powerful master of Wu Lin. Meanwhile, Yang Kang, who Guo Jing has come to trust, has yet to reveal the full extent of his treachery. And that will have you, Yang Jiang is a character who will have you on the edge of your seat, wondering when the other shoe is going to fall. It's masterfully drawn out, just masterfully done. And Jin Yong is the pen name of Louis Cha. It was a true phenomenon in the Chinese-speaking world. Born in mainland China, he spent most of his life writing novels and editing newspapers in Hong Kong. His enormously popular martial arts novels have become modern classics and remain a must-read for readers looking for danger and adventure. And there is a lot of danger and adventure in these. I remember, I think I mentioned when I showed you the first volume in these, they remind me in some ways of an old science fiction fantasy book by Barry Hughart called Bridge of a Thousand Birds, which is tremendous. It's out of print. I believe it had a couple of sequels, but Bridge of a Thousand Birds is out of print, and it was terrific. This is like the master mold that and other Chinese folklore pastiche novels were patterned after. This is the real deal, is what I'm trying to say. But one thing that I want to stress, this comes out September 8th. Okay, all right, it's a little bit late getting to me. This is out already in your bookstores. But one thing that I want to stress is something that you're all book savvy people, so you probably don't need me to stress it. You could just tell from that pub sheet that you can't start with this volume. You might want to dive right in, but you should get the first one. Go and get the first one, which is A Hero Born. So it's A Hero Born, A Bond Undone, and then A Snake Lies Waiting. And Hero Born is enormously worth your time. And it's St. Martin's, so it will be probably in back stock at your retail bookstore. It'll certainly be at your library. If you're looking for a fantasy series that is not like anything else that you read in the fantasy genre, this is it. So, fantastic. Well, great. I'm going to do... I'm right back to this. I'm going to do the same thing here. I am not going to jump into this, even though it's late getting to me. It might be, it's almost October 8th now, so it might be a little too late to do a review. But maybe not, especially if I do it for Open Letters. Those of you who are new to the channel, I mentioned 2,000 new people, so I might as well refresh your memory a bit. I leave lots of information down below in every MegaStuff video. On every video, I leave lots of information down below. You will see, for instance, that I do a podcast fairly regularly for the Cedarburg Public Library in Cedarburg, Wisconsin. I also am an editor at an online literary journal called Open Letters Review, where we do reviews of new books a lot, frequently. And we have, in your favorite app store, Android or iOS, we have a fantastic free app. Just type in Open Letters Review. Unlike me, who cannot download apps because I cannot access my Comcast account, you probably can. And if you can download apps, the Open Letters app will give you lots of fun reading. Well, that's what I meant. I could review this for Open Letters. But I'm going to do the same thing as I'm doing with this. I will go back and reread the first 2 volumes. They're right on the shelf in the other room. Great. Fantastic. Okay, so that is our book haul then. 1 nonfiction and 1 fiction, both of which I want to read immediately. There's Hans Holbein. This will be... it's a full-length biography, but there won't be anything in here that I don't already know. So it'll be wholly a question of what kind of a job the author does arranging the story, telling the story. And that's been true of a couple of these. I got one of these volumes, one of these nice reaction volumes on Leonardo da Vinci, for instance. And there were a couple of others as well, where it was well-known ground to me, and I just wanted to see what kind of a job the author did in telling the story. So we have nonfiction, Hans Holbein, I'll read this today. And we have fiction, The Snake Lies Waiting in English language translation, the 3rd book in the Condor House series. So fiction and nonfiction, and both things that I want to get to right away. So that is your MegaStuff video for today. I'm going to wrap this up for now, but I will try to make more videos, so I will be back. Thank you, BookTube.